My name is Rick Bauman, and I lost my son Gabriel March 25th, 2007. Uh, my grief started uh, when the police knocked on the door to notify me that my son had taken his life. Uh, Total shock, and I mean shock. When my wife and I both, we were there when they came and told us what happened, and had to remember to breathe. It was so bad, and your brain, it just doesn't work correctly. Uh, I had to. It took my wife and I a while, and this was they were in Whitehall, and my son was in Cincinnati when he took his life, and I had 8 million questions going through my head. How am I going to get there? Who am I going to call? It just put me in total shock. Too many. I couldn't think straight. Couldn't breathe right. It was like that's the best how I can express what was going on. Well, one of the things that started uh, my main concern, I didn't want my son's whole legacy to be suicide. And he actually, he didn't want to have any funeral, anything. So, but what I did, I went ahead and had a celebration of his life. I wanted everybody to know this was for my benefit as well as the rest of my family. I have a wife and 4 other children, and tons of grandchildren, and that my son was friends with. Um, so I wanted to celebrate his life and let people know that it wasn't just suicide. My son he was a bone marrow donor, donated I don't know how many gallons of blood. He was good to me. He was a big brother. Uh, did a lot of good in his life, and I wanted to make sure that his legacy wasn't going to be just suicide. So I had a celebration, put an ad in the paper. Over 200 people showed up, and that was the beginning for me. And the rest of my family uh, thanked me for doing it that way. Uh, I wanted to come out of that muddy mire of grief as quickly, work on getting out of it as soon as I could. If it wouldn't be for my faith, I am in the. It's always what I've heard about this situation are you're going to depend on the 3 F's: your faith, your family, and your friends. And I did. My family, I have 4 other children, I said, and we kind of grieved and helped each other. Everybody was on a different page all the time, and we were able to be there for one another. And basically, my faith in God is more to the story is that I wanted to. I was angry at God for this whole thing. So if I'm going to say that I have a faith, I wanted to make sure that God's will. I didn't. It didn't look like it was too good to me at the time. So I wanted to see what I could do to understand His will. And what I've done is I do a lot of volunteer work and helping other people grieve, and my main goal is to prevent other suicides. And so I've dedicated the rest of my life to preventing suicide and helping anyone that's gone through the grief of suicide. Uh, Basically, I broke the #1 rule they say that you're supposed to do, and that's don't make any major decisions your first year. And I'm sure that is a wise thing to remember, but I've never been accused of being wise. So I closed my business, and they hired me at suicide prevention, and that's where I am now. We were searching everywhere. And then uh, got the idea, and Mary helped me get the idea to go, why don't you just start one yourself? I have to be doing something. That's my nature. I can't sit back, and I've got to be active and doing something. So that was a project I started, and it's kind of funny, when I started it, the other ones do it twice a month. Once a month is fine for me, and I'm glad I did it that way. I know some other people that they burn out fast trying to do. I couldn't do it twice a month. Anyway, that was good. I felt like I was helping. And I love my training, that I've trained people to work the hotline, and I'm catching on. I've done the training 44 times. So, and I know those people are answering and preventing suicide. That's my goal, to prevent suicide if I can. And I figure if that way I'm preventing people feeling like this. And I think knowledge, to prevent suicide, the more knowledge you have, the better chance you're going to have of preventing it. Probably one of the major things I would make sure, allow people to help you. Don't try to go through it by yourself. And if you are a believer, talk to the higher power as often and as much as you can to give you that extra strength to function. Because your goal is that your goal in the beginning is just take care of yourself, number one. Make sure you're breathing properly. Make sure you're eating properly and sleeping. And it's going to be difficult. It sounds easy, but it's not going to be easy. And then you're going to have these flashbacks of situations where your loved one should be in that situation with you. And it's going to take strength, and you can't do it by yourself. You're going to need your faith, your family, and your friends. And allow them to help you, whatever. And because your priority on life has completely changed. Things you thought were important before aren't going to be that important anymore. And that's okay. Prioritize. In the beginning, though, your priority is you need to take care of yourself, because you're not going to be thinking correctly, and you're going to be overwhelmed. So you can make it through it, though, with your higher power and your faith and your family and friends.